So, do you want to create a cool, complex, and compelling character? Me too. And that's what we're going to do today. If you watched my last video, you'll know I'm writing a book. And I already figured out the plot, the setting, but the characters were a bit fuzzy still. So join me in the process of creating a good character. Let's start with, why are you creating a character in the first place? Just for the sake of it? Are they supposed to fit an overarching story, an already existing world? Different intents will have different demands. If you're just making a character for fun, there's very little you have to worry about. Character arcs, backstory, fatal flaw, all of these are optional. But if you're making a character to fit a role, then there's some things you should probably consider. So let's start there. What role is this character going to serve? Protagonist, love interest, villain, sidekick. This is a good first step to take. Right now, I need a protagonist, which is always a very complicated task, but we have to do it. One common way people do this is by writing a blank slate character, one the audience will be able to project themselves into, but I absolutely hate that, so let's not do it. I want a protagonist with a strong personality, someone who's going to guide the whole narrative with their own actions and beliefs, and not be dragged around by the plot's convenience. So here she is. In the last video I said her name is placeholder, but not anymore. Now her name is Medora. Why? I don't know, it felt right. I don't really care about the meaning of names, but maybe you do, in which case go to baby names website. There are many, you can find anything you want in there. So if you want to hear more about the book I'm writing, you can watch my last video where I talk more about the setting and the plot, but if you don't, I'll give you a summary. Basically, it's a world of spellcasters who borrow their power from the gods, but these powers are only given to very select people. The whole system, the government, is completely controlled by the clergy. So Medora here is studying to be part of that clergy, but she has her own reasons to do that. So let's talk about that. Motivation. Why is your character doing the things that they're doing? Are they searching for justice, revenge, redemption? What's the underlying motive behind their every action? If we're talking about your protagonist especially, it's very, very important that they want something, that they take action to accomplish that, and are not just being pulled around by the other characters and the narrative. Because if they are, why are they the protagonist in the first place? A passive character is very rarely compelling. So Medora's whole motive is that she wants to democratize the magic in her world. She's trying to get into the clergy so that she can try to change the rules from the inside. But why does she want that? Let's talk about her next topic. Backstory. The events in your character's past will impact how they are in the present. So it's important that you know their origin, the things that they went through, what are their traumas, what affected them. And this is a great way to find your character's motivation. Look into their past, see what's lacking in their life, what they want, what they need, and make conclusions from that. Make them connected. So why does Medora want to democratize the magic? Well, without getting too much into spoilery details, she comes from a very poor country that could have been helped from the magic, but because it's so selective, she had to live through famine that was completely preventable with the powers of the gods, but they weren't, because nobody had the access to said powers. So she wants to stop that system, she wants to bring the magic for those who need, and that's the whole reason she's there in the first place. Now, let's talk a bit about your character's strengths and weaknesses. But beforehand, let me talk a bit about Reedsy's course, How to Write a Novel. They gifted me this course and I couldn't be more grateful about it. It has daily classes totaling 801, covering every topic you could possibly need in writing, including a whole section about characters. If you want to see the whole chronogram, you can check the link in the description. The lessons are taught by Tom Bromley, who has been working in the publishing industry for more than 2 decades, so he knows what he's talking about. This book I'm writing with the help of this course, and it's been an amazing experience. They also have live lessons and feedback groups. It's really great. I'm really enjoying the whole course. If you're interested in that, I highly recommend you check it out. The link is in the description. Now let's go back to the video. Starting with the strengths. What's your character good at? This is probably going to be very easy for you to figure out, because normally people like their characters and like to make them good and give them good characteristics. So what makes makes the audience like your character? Are they strong? Are they courageous? Are they intelligent? For Medora, her biggest strength is that she's very smart. She's on top of her class and overall very good at what she's doing. But not only that, she's also a very fun and easygoing person. But a character cannot only have good traits, can they? So let's talk about weaknesses. You've probably heard this, but I'll say it again. A perfect character is a boring character 99% of the time. So even if you love your character to pieces, even if you want them to be the personification of good itself, if you want the audience to get attached to them, you'll have to give them bad quality flaws. And I'm not talking about silly things like they're clumsy, they trip over their feet all the time. No, I'm talking something that affects the narrative, that actively makes people dislike them, because that's how it works in real life too. Everyone has flaws and not everybody can like everybody. It's also good that their flaw is what brings them close to their downfall eventually, because this will make the story so much more personal to them. So what is Medora's problem? What are her flaws? Let's start for the fact that she's incredibly stubborn. She has her way of seeing things and nothing will change her mind. She's completely inflexible with her worldview and her actions. And this affects how she relates to the other characters and the whole institution. She tries to do things her way in the best way she can. She doesn't like to follow the rules. She tries to break them without actually breaking them. And with that, she ends up rejecting and failing a lot of the teachings, the classes. She refuses to study in the traditional way. She does things in her own way, which often don't work that well, but nobody can make her change her mind, so she will insist in the same mistakes again and again, and that holds her back. Linked to the strengths and the flaws is the personality, which is actually not exactly its own category because they are all kind of the same thing, but there are some traits that are not necessarily either flaws or strengths. They are just part of your character. It's how they act, how they relate to others, their disposition overall. For example, Medora, I said she doesn't like to follow the rules, but how does her personality affect that? She could be a rebel and be angry with everyone all the time. She could be very reserved and block herself out from everybody else and the rest of the world. But no, she is very sassy. People will criticize her, she will be sarcastic to them and not be really that affected by them, because in her mind she's right, so she doesn't need to listen to other people. But even though she ends up being quite obnoxious, she has a kind heart and she has good intentions, and that shows through her actions. Something else I want to talk about are the characters' relationships. Every time I watch a show or read a book, this is the part that gets me the most. Interpersonal relationships. Your character in a vacuum can be interesting, but I guarantee you they will be so much more interesting with a whole other cast of characters for them to interact with. And I plan on making a video about writing the cast of characters because there's so much to it, but for now let's keep it to a surface level. What parts of your character shine when they're relating to character B? When they're relating to character C? How do they subtly change for each character? Maybe they have a soft spot for one of them and will act completely different, and they'll hate character C and will lash out at them at every chance they get. And this will give you the chance to show different sides of their personality, make them more two-dimensional. Medora has two best friends that are going to be the supporting cast, Sophia and Joseph. The three of them compete on being the top of the class, so they're all very smart, but they are smart in different ways, and I'll go more in depth in another video. And to end this video, I want to talk about connecting every aspect of your character. When thinking about these things, the backstory, the motives, the personality, I don't recommend you think about them in a list. Oh, I'll figure this one out, then this one out. I recommend you see them like a net. Everything is interconnected. Everything is because of their backstory, and their personality is what affects this, and one thing should lead to the other. Not to say that there shouldn't be some little things that are just there, but the main elements of what makes your character them as a person, it would be good if you could make sense of them within their internal logic instead of just randomly assigning things to them. So think of a net not a list. And for this video, this is it. I have more videos about writing where I go more in depth about other topics, so go check them out if you're interested. If you want me to talk more about the visual design part of the process, you can ask in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.